Welcome back everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make porchetta. All right, now we're going to get started by setting our barbecue up. We're going to be using the Weber kettle. We'll start by taking our lid and cooking grate off. Then we'll lay a couple of firelighters down, light them up. We'll get our charcoal chimney on top. Then you want to fill that with lump charcoal or briquettes. And then you want to give them around 10 to 15 minutes until they're red hot, ashed over and ready to go. All right, now while our briquettes are catching light, we're going to prepare our pork belly. Now I've got a beautiful piece here. It's around 2.5 kilos. It's been sitting in the fridge uncovered for around 24 hours. You really want to make sure you give it a minimum of 24 hours in the fridge uncovered just to really dry that skin out. You can leave it anywhere from 24 hours up to 4 days in the fridge uncovered. The drier you can get that skin, the better crackling you're going to get in the end. Or if you're friendly with your butcher, you can even get them to do it for you. Now the first thing we're going to do is pierce the skin all over. I'm just going to be using a jacquard to make the job a little bit easier. If you don't have a jacquard, you can just use the tip of your knife and you just want to go a couple of mil deep into the skin. But because I've got the jacquard, I'm going to use it. Now by piercing the skin all over, we've created lots of tiny little holes. This is going to help moisture escape from underneath the skin, which is going to help give us that nice crackling. And it's also going to help give us that nice bubbly crackling we all love as well. Now the next thing we're going to do is just trim any excess fat, silver skin or gristly bits off our pork belly. This one looks like it doesn't need too much. All right, now I'm happy with that. And then the next part, you really want a good sharp knife for this bit. We're just going to butterfly this pork belly meat out. Now you don't want to be cutting it through the skin on this, but you just want to start on one corner, take your time, and we just want to be getting this meat. And we basically just want to keep doing that until that meat completely folds over, leaving this end attached. All right, now our meat is all butterflied out like so. I'm just going to quickly test it by rolling it up because this is what we're going to do after. And I just want to make sure that any of that skin isn't going to be on the inside of the pork belly when we roll it up. So that is just meeting. Once we get some stuffing in there, that'll obviously be a bit larger in volume. So I'm happy with that. At worst, I can always just trim a little bit off, but you don't want any of that skin on the inside sort of rolled into it. Otherwise it's not going to crisp up and it's just going to be chewy. So we can move our pork belly to one side now and we're going to get started on this seasoning for the inside of it. All right, now for the seasoning mix going into this pork belly, I've got a small handful of rosemary leaves and sage leaves. We're just going to chop them. All right, and then we'll scrape that over to one side. And then we've got 6 cloves of garlic we'll finally chop. And then we'll put that to one side as well. All right, and then we'll bring our beautiful pork belly out. To start, we're going to put a light coat of salt down, and then some cracked black pepper, and some ground fennel seeds. Then we'll layer over our garlic, our sage and rosemary, and then we're going to zest over 1 orange. All right, and then we'll roll it up nice and tight. Now this is just one of many porchetta recipes. You can add any of your other favourite herbs and spices that complement pork into this. All right, and I'm just going to face the end up. All right, and then the next thing we want to do is string it up. So with some cooking twine, you just want to go underneath the middle, go under, make a loop, go through it with your tag end, tie a knot, and then in that tag end, tie another knot just so it doesn't pull through on itself. And then your non-tag end, you can just start working tight. So you just want to move it back and forth, and then eventually that knot we tied in our tag end will meet, and then you can pull it tight, make a loop, go over that tag end, go over that knot, snip your ends off, and then we just want to keep doing that. So I like to just go one on each end, and then you can go another one halfway in between them. So again, under, make a loop, go through it with your tag end, tie it off, another knot in your tag end, start working it tight. That knot's going to stop it from pulling through, loop off around it and tie it off. So one last one, I'll go a little bit slower. So tag end, under your non-tag end, making a loop, going through it, tying that off, putting a knot in your tag end just so it doesn't pull through on itself when we're tightening it up. And then your non-tag end, it's going to move that back and forth until those 2 knots meet, and that's going to stop it from pulling through. And once you're happy with how tight it is, it's going to go around your finger, twist over that tag end, and that's just going to stop it coming apart. And snip them off, and we are pretty much good to go. All right, now back to the Weber. As you can see, our briquettes are ready. That's what you want to be looking for. So we'll put them aside for a moment. We'll get our charcoal baskets in either side, and we'll fill those with our briquettes. And you just want to make sure both baskets are even. And we'll get some drip trays down the middle. Then we'll get our cooking grate on and our lid. And you want to make sure both vents are wide open, and we'll give our barbecue 5 minutes to preheat. So while our barbecue's preheating, we can finish off preparing this porchetta. So we're just going to give it a light coat in oil. Try and get any seasoning off the skin that you might have on there. And then we'll just give a light coat all over that skin with some flaky salt. Now that's ready to go once our barbecue's up to temperature. All right, now porchetta is going to be perfect to cook in the Weber, on a rotisserie, in a Kamado barbecue, or even in the oven. But now our Weber's up to temperature, we're going to get this porchetta in. So we'll get that right in the middle of those 2 charcoal baskets over the top of those drip trays. Then we'll get our lid back on, and we'll come back to check on the crackling once it's had about 45 minutes in the Weber. So like I said before, you can add any of your favorite flavors that will complement that porchetta. You can add some pork sausage meat, you can add some chili, whatever you like. That's just a really simple and easy recipe, and you're probably going to have most of those ingredients in your pantry as well. Now ideally, you don't really want to open that lid for the first hour to an hour and a half of this cook. I know I said that would check on the crackling after about 45 minutes. What I'd suggest is just getting a torch and shining it through the lid vent on your Weber. But for the purpose of this video, we'll open the lid up, we'll have a look at that crackling once this porchetta's had around 45 minutes to an hour in that Weber. All right, we're about an hour into this cook, and this crackling is looking incredible already. As you can see, that is pretty much set all over. Got them beautiful bubbles, which is exactly what we're looking for. Now, because this is a belly, there's obviously a bit more fat in there, so I'm going to take it to a higher internal temperature of 185 Fahrenheit or 85 degrees Celsius, just so that fat can render down a bit more. If this was a leg or a loin, I'd take it to that normal 145 Fahrenheit or 63 degrees Celsius. Now, one thing I'm going to do while we're here is I'm just going to rotate this porchetta around just so both ends cook nice and even. And I'm going to get that lid back on. We'll continue cooking this. I reckon we've still got at least another hour to an hour and a half left. But I'll continue to keep an eye on it because I don't want that crackling to burn. If that crackling's starting to get really dark and looking like it's going to burn, I'll just loosely cover that roast in foil. But for now, we'll let that keep cooking away and we'll check back in on it soon. All right, it's been just over half an hour since we last checked in, so we're about an hour and a half to an hour 45 into this cook. As you can see, that crackling has set all over. I'm starting to get a couple of dark bits, so I'm happy to just loosely cover this with foil. Now, if there were parts that weren't quite set, you'd obviously want to leave them exposed until they were set. But because that's set all over, we'll cover it all. And while we're here, we'll have a quick check of our internal temperature. We want to get right in that thickest part. And as you can see, we've still got about 6 degrees to go, so that's probably going to take another 15 to 20 minutes, which will put us just over 2 hours into this cook. And while we're here, you can see our briquettes are starting to die down. I'm fine with that, but if you had a bigger roast, you'd obviously want to top those briquettes up, or if you want to make life easier for yourself, you can always just finish this off in the oven if you didn't want to top up your briquettes. And if you are using briquettes, make sure you're using some premium quality ones. A lot of the cheaper ones just simply won't burn hot enough, so I'd recommend either using good briquettes or lump charcoal. But for now, I reckon this will be done in another 20 minutes, so we'll come back once we've hit our internal temperature. All right, it's been another 20 minutes, so I reckon this will be done. Yep, we are right on the money. So I'll take that foil off. Seriously, just have a look at that. Beautiful. So we'll get this out and I'll get it into a foil tray. And all I'm going to do is take that inside, let it rest at room temperature for around 10 to 15 minutes before we come back to slice and serve it. All right, time to cut this open. Juicy, perfect crackling, full of flavour. Let's cut a bit off and have a taste. That is so good. You've got that light, bubbly, airy crackling. And you've got that tender, juicy meat and all of those beautiful flavours that come through in that seasoning. Well, that porchetta is an absolute winner. You definitely have to try that one. Perfect for any occasion, especially on Christmas. The recipe, the cooking method, and everything you need to know will be down in the description for you to check out. But if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. But for now, that's the end of the video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.